Yes, we have watched with keen interest all of what's been going on in the altercations between our compatriot Dele Farotimi and our senior colleague, Chief Afe Babalola, in the matter of a book that made certain claims and made certain concessions about the rot in the system. Chief Afe Babalola happened to be just the name, one of the many names listed in what Farotimi recorded as his experience and his perception. It would have been just another case of the many rots in the systems. Is it the electoral system that is better than this judicial system? Is it the police system that is better? Is it the economic, the matter of corruption and the law enforcement, the EFCC that will impound and from one front door and offload from the but look at the last EFCC, last 5 EFCC chairmen and see whether the story was not always the same. So the matter of exposing all of the rots in the system is on the one side. But there are a few things. Ninas will be speaking to the situation from his own perspective. The first being, why are things the way they are? Or will exposition solve the problem? We saw the exposures that had happened. David Hundeyin pursuing the matter of Tinubu's records to the point where the CIA says that our president, interregnum as it were, is an active CIA agent, meaning that our sovereignty that was already being hijacked is now mortgaged. Our sovereignty that had been hijacked is now mortgaged by the illicit custodian to third parties who could dictate. Let us look at this. Let us look at the policies, the economic policies that have been unleashed on us. Whether they do not look very much like what IMF will recommend, what World Bank will recommend. Who says that it is not within the context of that agency that these policies are happening to us, that we will withdraw fuel subsidy even before we begin to look at the records, the day of assumption of office? Oh, the subsidy is gone. Look at where we are now. In another week, Naira will float against all currencies of the world without any production in the background. Look at where Naira has sunk. Above 1,700, 1,700 as of today. Yes, there was a prank that was played last week. It came down a little because they went to borrow Eurobond and they pretended that the dollar would now be flowing. Of course, it was mopped up. Unless we come to the point of preventing whatever we can do to extinguish that free Naira that's always pursuing the dollar after allocations are shared every month. The governors have no responsibility towards you. So all the billions they get go only to, once they pay salary, some of the ones who choose to pay salary. The rest, which could be 80% of the entire money, but some of them get 30, 40 billion. The rest of the money they get in that sharing go into pursuing after dollar wherever it turns up. So the ministers are pursuing, the governors are pursuing, particularly the governors, and all the other people who, in the National Assembly, all of constituency project that never gets done and the humongous allowances, everything goes down to pursuing dollar for keeps. And so, the issues that have been thrown up in terms of how deeply rotten the system is. And what is that system? We are only talking about the judiciary now and the practitioners in that judiciary, the kind of things they do to produce the kind of outcomes we have seen. We saw electoral disputes across the last 20-25 years, and how we now know from WikiLeaks, sorry for Afe Babalola, the very thing he was running away from, the book in question has become bestseller, the whole world is now reading, and WikiLeaks had gone to expose yet another thing. The question of Ninas is, how will this expose, if we now know that the Chicago State University records of the one who is president now, identity in dispute, and every other thing in dispute? How has it changed anything? How has it solved the problem? And so Ninas is coming into the discussion from the angle of extinguishing the source of this rot, the source of these dysfunctional systems. The Constitution of Nigeria is reason people could sit in Ekiti and procure police from Ekiti to go to abduct people in Lagos and put them before some kangaroo court, in which one high court will give bail, the other magistrate. Can we see how low we have sunk, what we have degenerated into? And we look beyond what has been exposed. The reading of Ninas to what is going on is that there are issues that have not been canvassed, that have not been mentioned, that have not been put on the table for why that abduction had to be orchestrated in that manner, and how these judicial people in Ekiti are working with all the people involved, the IG, apart from Commissioner of Police. So there's, when you look at the level of who had to cooperate to make these things happen, you begin to see the big shadows in the background. Could the IG of police, the Inspector General of Police of Nigeria, on his own become so very interested in Afe Babalola's reputation, which is now going into more controversy from what WikiLeaks has thrown out? We do not say we believe them. We're only saying, look at the things going on from that one angle of bust. The reading of Ninas is that the sins of Dele Farotimi go far beyond what he wrote in a book about some court experience in which Afe Babalola was on the other side. Our suspicion is that some of the other things he had been speaking about could be part of why this orchestration that requires so much to put together is being done. We will not be surprised to find out that the cooperation goes all the way to the pinnacle in Abuja, because a number of times he has spoken about the person of Bola Tinubu. That's our suspicion. We also know that his support for candidate Peter Obi may not have sat well with a number of people, including those who claimed victory in that election. And if 2023 was in the past, 2027 is still coming. Peter Obi holding meetings all over the place, how they will all go back and regroup and win the election. And so Dele Farotimi that says, if Peter comes again, I'll support him again. Let us look in that direction to see whether it is possible, because in our own reading, in our own reckoning, it appears that that's part of the problem. that is being solved in Ekiti right now. Get him out of the way. That's what we are seeing. If anybody says it's not so, well, then tell us what it is. Tell us what it is. We are familiar with the antics of this system. This magistrate that sits higher than the Federal High Court that has put 20th of December as return date. We know that 20th will come. We know that somebody will say the court is now in recess. There may not be any proceeding that day, and then date will be given for January, somewhere beyond the 15th of January, and all of that. That's the kind of thing that it has happened so many times that it will be stupid of us to think that anything else will happen now, except something that is deeper than what they are doing begins to happen, to compel a different behavior. And so let us brace up and raise the temperature, raise the bar, go to that foundation upon which they stand. That's the only thing that can compel a different behavior, a better behavior. But beyond what they are all doing to dislodge one another from where they are going, it certainly is not all about Afe Babalola. It certainly goes, into the question of what Farotimi has said. And because Farotimi had talked about that constitution as the bastion of evil, as the foundation, as the fountain from which all of what happens wrong in Nigeria flows, Ninas owes an obligation to say that that could be part of the problem. That could be part of the problem. That he is one of those saying that that constitution cannot be basis of. So you see, we are speaking to the wider issues, and it is on that premises that we'll be inviting all of those who are planning what to do. Of course, Ninas will be the first. If you go to our public platforms, you will see what we already did about whatever is going on in the background. We are the first to say, why are you holding him? Looking at the laws, all of what he did were done in Lagos. What is the law in Lagos concerning the libel and defamation? What is the law in Ekiti? Has law and order broken down? Because even in the law in Ekiti that makes some reference to, so it is only when law and order has broken down. Then the federal government comes to say, hey, cybercrime. With all of the atrocities going on all over Nigeria, it is now the cybercrime of Dele Farotimi. You see, when they say corruption perception index, corruption is measured in terms of perception, and so it is not the figures you give or the facts you want to give. It is about what those what onlookers are seeing. And so the corruption that is being alleged, the dysfunctions that we see, it is our perception that these things are happening for these other reasons that are not disclosed. Is all a part of the infrastructure of corruption that has framed the unitary Nigeria we have now under that constitution. So Dele Farotimi's sins will include Afe Babalola that is standing in front, will include Bola Tinubu that is not seen, because otherwise what is the IG doing there? Perception. There's someone who superintends over the institutions, particularly the executive branch. Why would the kind of things happening now be allowed to happen, if not that they are all in cooperation? Because Farotimi has spoken about the subjects we have listed, the person of Bola Tinubu and all of what everybody has been made to see. including what David Hunting found out there in the US. In formal circumstances, the court in Chicago says, here's what's on our record. The certificate didn't come from that by affidavit. The school says we didn't issue the certificate. All other explanations can be going on, but the perception of those who are listening, those who are looking at what is going on, onlookers, is that there's something crooked about the claims of a certificate and identity and all of what could not be reconciled in that Chicago court. Then we come to the one in which CIA and FBI and DEA will be talking about asset of the individual, that the individual is their active asset. Nigerians don't seem to understand the meaning of that. Our sovereignty is now compromised. Our sovereignty is now mortgaged. And we see what the visit to France and all of what France is looking for, having been chased away from Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso. Nigeria is the next place to try to land. We had some Professor Yusuf talking about French military base that could come to the north and how the north will not. These are all the things going on around the subject. Who knows who and who are pressuring this agent to allow France come to put their base somewhere here? Who knows what else they are after? The things they lost in the other places. But thank goodness, Washington will turn red in January from the blue that has been like quagmire, the blue quagmire, the interregnum of blue that will end in January. Red will come. Trump will return, and that rot that extends to that FBI that has this agent. Look back at the election and all of what happened. Look back at the question of removing Nigeria from the watch list, and as country of particular concern, Anthony Blinken as a Secretary of State, when the killings were expanding. Lakarua, the Fulani militia expelled from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, are all in Nigeria now. Where do we go from here? The systems are in total dysfunction on account of the Unitary Constitution of Nigeria, whether it is the rot in the judiciary or the rot in INEC or the rot in the police force. What was the mandate of the colonial police? To shield the colonial invaders from the natives. That mandate has not changed. That's why you see several policemen attached to public officials, while the peoples of the land are, contending with all kinds of things. The police is not there on your behalf. And so, whether it is the corruption you are looking at, or the impunity you are looking at, or the absence of rule of law, or the infrastructural decay, all of what has brought Nigeria, or the insecurity that has taken all kinds of turns, everything is coming from that constitution. And so we invite all of those who say they are fed up with how things are with Nigeria, all of those who might be planning one kind of action or the other in rejection of what they are doing with Attorney Dele Farotimi in Ekiti. We have to raise the bar. We have to go to the source of the problem as we demand the release of Dele Farotimi. As we share the wider dimensions of the rot in the system beyond judiciary and the operators and the practitioners in that justice sector, we must find the courage to go to that source of the problem and demand the extinguishment and demand the termination of the operation of that constitution that has imposed these rotten systems on us. If we are not doing that, it means we are deceiving ourselves, we are lying to ourselves that we are not happy with what is going on. It's like a tap that is gushing out all kinds of evils: corruption, insecurity, electoral malfeasance, everything bad. And instead of turning off the tap, we choose to go and mop, to go and get better leadership of Peter Obi. Those who are already talking about electoral reform, Ninas will ask, under which constitution? Is it the same people that will reform themselves out of office? Is it Tinubu that will reform election? Is it this INEC that will be reformed in what guarantees them billions of dollars? Is it this judiciary of Ekiti that will reform itself? So the electoral reform is saying that the constitution is okay. Let us just get the better candidate to win election. But the very people who are going to be doing that reform are the principal beneficiaries of the rot. Why can't we dress back and apply a logical sequence to the situation where it is, where we want it to be? Where are we now? The system wants to go to election in 2027. Those who want an end to that constitution are saying we cannot go to election under this constitution. We must go to transition now. If all our available energies are committed to making that demand, what can they do than to go to transition? That constitution is decommissioned, it's already delegitimized. Everybody now knows that it has no life. Why are we allowing people to draw power from it and pretend to exercise authority on the basis of it? So all of those who are gearing up for one kind of action or the other, Ninas will challenge you to define the change you seek. If you reject what is happening to Dele Farotimi, you must back it up by rejecting the constitution that has made it possible. It is that constitution that has made it possible. If you are not willing to speak about that or join in the search for how we extinguish that instrument, then you are part of the enforcers of that constitution. Even your silence on that question of whether or not we'll go with that constitution to another election, your silence is evidence of support for that system as codified by that constitution. So Ninas invites all of those who are unhappy about what is going on to demonstrate that unhappiness with the demand for the extinguish for that operation of that constitution to be extinguished. And how does it happen? We must demand a transition, immediate transition, in place of election that will happen in 2027. Because if we go to election under that constitution, it simply means we are happy with that constitution, we are happy with all the impunity of it, we are happy with the corruption of it, we are happy with all of the insecurity flowing from it, everything that the hunger that has come from it. Look at the kind of policies. Find out why those things are happening. You end up with the constitution as the source. So let us focus our energies on the source of that problem as a part of arresting what is happening in Ekiti. If we don't raise the bar and come to something that will compel the system to behave differently, we'll just be equipping them and generally, fueling them into doing more. But if we raise the question of the constitution from which they are drawing that power, the constitution that imposes that structure of people being able to sit in one corner of the country and cause havoc everywhere they choose with no consequence at all, then it must be our fault. Then it must be our choice to perish. Then it must be our choice to live in this hell that Nigeria has become under that constitution. Let all of those who reject these things, we lament, speak up to say that we will not go to another election under that constitution. Let nobody talk about the electoral reform, because we then ask such people under which constitution. That question goes to Peter Obi, that question goes to Sowore, that question goes to everybody who would say let us go and get a better leader. Where is the party that will defeat the ones that are there now, with all of what they've done. They've decapitated the Labour Party, they've decapitated the PDP. So the choice to go to election in 2027 is a choice to, you know, have the ones who are there now carry on. Because, and even if you go to mobilize to say, oh, we vote massively and do away with them, then what? Because that constitution remains in place. And all these evils will continue. We think we have to take a closer look at the change we want and the mechanism for attaining that change. NINAS invites us to define the change we seek. And if we want to be guided, we can go on YouTube and search the title, Defining the Change We Seek. We stop there. Thank you for listening.